Hey, good morning. It's Mike again. All right, so got up about an hour ago. Been plugging away at this. This is kind of important. I skimmed right through it. I went through the tape yesterday, and I noticed because I'm rushing, I'm making a couple of mistakes. So that's the study of space and how much time we have within that space. So it happens. That's why it's always good to review. That's why I wanted to re-illustrate a point. We went through the modeling floors tutorial, the start of it yesterday, and we got to the BIM manager's note, talking about a real-world scenario and how we can cantilever these decks. Now, the passage reads as follows. Cantilevered metal decking. You can see the metal decking profile shown in a section view. However, when metal deck runs parallel to a support member, the decking cannot cantilever as shown by default when you model a floor. You must customize these slab edges to show a more accurate representation of the decking condition. One easy way to accomplish this is to use the cantilever option when you are creating or editing the boundary lines of the floor. If you're using a floor type that includes a structural deck layer, select any of the boundary lines and you will see cantilever settings in the options bar. If you define the boundary line of the center line of the supporting member, define the cantilever value for the steel to be 0 and concrete to be the value appropriate to your engineered design. Sometimes these values may need to be negative distances to achieve the desired cantilever condition. When you finish the sketch and observe the slab edge in the section view, you will see a more accurate representation of the appropriate construction technique for the floor element. Now, we put it straight through the glass yesterday with that 3-inch offset. It did say 3 inches, not -3. So if you remember, yesterday when we had this floor boundary, when we were creating it, if you remember, it told us to give it an offset of 3, right? If you remember. It told us to give it an offset of 3. Now, let me just make sure I got this here. Let me select it, hold on. Okay, so if you see, we have that 3 inches from the location line of the curtain wall. We actually had it through the curtain wall. Again, chapter 13, it keeps saying chapter 14, yet keeps giving it a chapter 13 heading. So there's definitely a trick to this. Now, not to just go a little kooky on you, but if we were to grab that floor and edit its boundary, if we selected the core or the center line of the wall, we could cantilever it, right? Regardless of where we select the center line of this, we could add a concrete cantilever to it. So if I said 36 inches, oops, and I did, it's okay, and hit accept. Well, you'll see now, it's 36 inches, it's 39 inches away from the location line of the curtain wall. Now, that was a cantilever option. In the passage, you remember is that sometimes these values need to be negative. So if I was to edit the wall boundary again, and select and hit tab, if I was to say negative 36 inches, okay, well, you'll see now in section, you can see in this section, 36 inches. Now let's measure that. Okay, let's see. Well, there's 51 inches. 33 inches. Now keep in mind, let's look at this from a plan view. It's 36 inches. Hold on. Don't make a liar out of me. Okay. There's the decking, the metal decking. Let's do some measurements here, just so you get an idea of how to manipulate your floor. Let's just take some measurements. Well, there's 36 inches from the edge of the corrugated deck, extended out 36 inches. So these are the ways that you're going to be able to have these walls fit into the constraints of these floors, fit into the constraints of your wall systems and your structural systems. You could also pick wall boundaries by structural members. We picked it by walls, if you remember. But we could have easily have went to level 3 and put this onto a structural template, view template, and took a look at the view range. And let's see here if we can get what we want. I can't get the view that I want. Hold on. Am I in the right view? Yeah. Give me a second to get this exactly the way I want it, if I can. Oh, I'm silly. There we go. All right, so as you can see, here's the W18 by 71 structural member. When we're creating floors, and I can delete the floor, we could go back to our architectural tab, structural floor, and we picked walls yesterday to define the boundary line. We could pick structural supports, add sketch lines based on existing structural walls and beams. So there's nothing saying that I can't grab this. And again, they're individuals, right? There's nothing saying I can't grab these and create a floor. Now the offset is going to cause an error. You'll see. Lines kind of intersect each other. Quit sketching, right? Because we have that offset set. It's a 3. And we can't have that yet. We can cantilever it. We can't have it offset from the core because then the lines are going to intersect. So let's just architectural, floor, structural, pick beams, offset 0. And let's pick this, that, and that. This is just a portion of the floor. Span direction, we already picked the first structural member, so that's going to be dictated by that. So the span direction is this way. Now, if we look at this floor in section, you can't see it here, but if we look at this floor in section, oops, view, section. Let's get right along one of the structural members here. Well, that one. Dissect it this way for a second. All right, let me just move this cutting plane a little further back. Let me just make sure I got what I want. I want this right there. Okay, let's take a look at this in section, shall we? Oops. Well, that's the roof. This is the third floor. Okay, so there is our corrugated metal deck. And as you see, that's the floor. And the corrugated decking extends to the midpoint of the beam, to the core of the beam. But if we were to edit that floor, let me tile these views again. Zoom extents. So we have our all of our sections that we need. Let's take a look at this one. All right, so if I was to edit the boundary, let's make sure it'll open the right view when we're in the right view. Well, there's the boundary, right? Now, if we were just to hover over one of them and hit Tab, we could select the whole boundary line. And you'd see there's no offset. There's no cantilever. And the steel is at 0, 0. You can't offset that. You can't offset that. When metal decking runs parallel to a support member, the decking cannot cantilever, as shown by default when you model floor. You must customize these slab edges to show more accurate representation of the decking condition. So if I was to make this negative 12 inches, let's test that theory. Well, when it runs parallel to the support member, well, let's look at that. I cut the section here. We're looking at it this way. Now, when it runs parallel to the support member, it's running parallel to this support member, which is this side, and it's running parallel to this support member on this side. I gave it an offset of 12 inches, right? And as you can see, the decking on this side offset 12 inches from the center of the beam, the decking, allowing the concrete to cantilever off of the corrugated deck. Now, if you think about that, if you pour this, it's going to drip through to the floor below, right? There's nothing to catch the concrete. If you're going to stop the metal decking here, first of all, when you pour, it's all going to flow down to the floor below. So if we undo that, you'll see if I redo it, you'll see the difference. Right? So just keep those things in mind. I know I'm flying through this only because I really want to get through it just to give you a little bit of fundamentals, some tips and tricks so that you can explore the platform as well. So yeah, there are a lot of variables, a lot of constraints, and there's a lot of ways in which you could depict these framing details to help you generate your construction documents a little quicker. If you put it in a time, there's going to be a downtime in your organization where your team is going to have to come up to speed with it, and that's could have a direct impact on production. And that's where you're going to have to leverage or weigh that, which is why your PIM manager should be cognizant of the fact that this does need to be implemented within the organization, but how fast and when is going to be a decision made by the stakeholders because, again, there's always going to be a little bit of a risk in change. So you have to approach it with a certain level of caution. So I'll leave it like that for now. I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but as you can see, there are a lot of variables that are going to dictate policy. Good morning. I hope you have your coffee, get your thinking cap on. There's a lot more to get to. Understanding floor types of key components. Key components. You'll find a plethora of interesting words in this book.